So hey guys, this is our new series, What if Naruto was the strongest trainer in Pokemon world? If you like this type of content, so don't forget to like and subscribe our channel and let's get started.
Naruto Namikaze sighed as he walked home from spending the day in the forest. Naruto was 16 years old and very tall, about 6 feet 1 inch. Now, when most people heard about a non-trainer playing in the forest, they would freak out, but for some reason wild Pokemon never bothered Naruto. Not to say that they avoided him, he had actually just been playing with a group of Puccina. He just meant that they didn't attack him like they would regular people. As Naruto entered the small town, he couldn't help but sigh as he noticed some kids laughing at him and pointing. At 16 years of age, Naruto had a crappy life. First off, he had no friends, since he was born an albino. He had pale skin, not paper white, but paler than an average person, snow-white hair, and pink eyes. Also there were his whisker marks. No kid wanted to play with the freak, and not only his looks. His parents ignored him for his twin brother and sister, the prodigies. PFT. Truth be told, they were average, slightly talented at best. Every birthday and Christmas they would ask for books on Pokemon while Naruto would get ignored as usual. They would skim half the books once, get bored, and toss them aside, never to be read again. By them. Naruto would read and analyze every book they got. He knew almost everything there was to know about Pokemon, types, personalities, abilities, everything. Speaking of his parents, Naruto's father, Minato Namikaze, was the former Hoenn champion, before he was beaten a few years ago by a guy named Steven Stone. Kushina Namikaze, his mother, was a top coordinator before she retired to have him and his siblings. Just 3 more days. Naruto thought, 3 more days and I'll be able to leave on my journey, but first, to get my trainer's license. Naruto walked up to Professor Birch's lab and walked in. He always volunteered to help out the professor in his work, so the two were on very good terms. As a matter of fact, Birch was more of a father to him than his own. As Naruto walked in, he was assaulted by a small child slamming into his stomach. He looked down to see a 7-year-old girl with black hair and red eyes staring up at him. "Hey bro." Naruto smirked at the kid. "Hello Brandy. What are you doing here?" Brandy backed up and said, "I'm helping Dad out with his work. Are you here to get your license?" "Yep. Where's your dad?" "He's out working in the field." Naruto nodded. "Alright, I'll go and get him, you stay here." Brandy nodded as Naruto walked down the path to the outskirts of town. As he walked out, he strolled around the forest looking for the professor, and he found him being chased by a Puccina. Naruto sighed and walked over. When the little dog saw him, it changed course and jumped into his arms. "Professor, you should really wait for me before you go out on field research," Naruto said as he pet the Pokemon. Birch laughed nervously and said, "Sorry about that, I accidentally stepped on the little guy's tail." Naruto shook his head and set the Pokemon down. It then scampered off into the woods. The two headed back to the lab and got Naruto set up for his test. When he finished, he exited and saw the other town kids there to take it, his siblings among them. They noticed him and not so quietly commented, "Check it out, the freak's here. Why is he even bothering? Pokemon are probably scared of him." Naruto's brother Menma then spoke up with a smirk, "So loser, how bad did you fail?" His sister merely disregarded him like he wasn't worth her time. Naruto ignored them and walked up to Birch's desk. He placed his test down and waited for the professor to grade it. When he was done, Birch said, "Just loud enough for everyone to hear, a perfect score. Just what I'd expect from my most talented assistant." Naruto smiled as Birch winked at him. Naruto walked out, ignoring the other kids whispering. He picked up his Pokédex and Pokeballs on the way out. The professor had 2 Pokédexes to give out, and he chose to give one to Naruto. It was black with lime green lining. Naruto walked out into the woods and headed for a secret pool. He emerged into a clearing with a pond, small waterfall, and a cave in the rock face. He then said, "All right guys. Line up." 6 small Pokemon ran out and stood before him. Over the years, his parents had taken them on numerous trips around the world, ignoring him as usual. During those trips, he had sometimes found a Pokemon that he got close to, so he asked them if they wanted to join his team, and then he snuck them home. First, a Charmander named Eros met on a trip to Cinnabar Island, and Naruto's first Pokemon. Second, a Mudkip named Cool, who Naruto met right there in the forest. Third, a Chespin named Sage, straight from the gardens of the Parfum Palace in Kalos. Fourth, a Ghastly named Drac. They had a blast pranking his family at the old chateau in Sinnoh. 5th, a Larvitar named Tex, from Mount Steel in Johto. 6th, a Bagon named Frey, from Meteor Falls. The 7 had grown up and trained together in anticipation for the day Naruto could leave on his journey. Naruto lifted the 6 Pokeballs and watched as they all lit up. He threw them and they all let the balls bounce on their heads and draw them in. After they all clicked, Naruto walked back home with them. He couldn't keep them at the house before this because they would have been targeted by his siblings. Menma liked to consider himself a collector, while Nozomi liked to catch anything that caught her eye. As he walked by the Pokemon pen, he let them all out around his parents' Pokemon. They looked like they were all having fun, so he just went inside. 3 days later, Naruto shot up out of bed and got ready to leave. He was wearing a gray shirt with a burgundy and maroon zip-up shirt with elbow-length sleeves, lined with black. The one at the high-end boutique in Pokemon X and Y, blue jeans, and a pair of dark brown hiking boots. He grabbed his white vinyl messenger bag and headed downstairs. When he arrived, he heard his brother talking to his parents. "Please Dad. Just let me borrow one Pokemon for 1 minute." Minato shook his head. "Nope, you're getting your Pokemon today, you can wait to try and catch one of them." "But they might be gone by then." Menma whined. Nozomi smacked his head. "What I want to know is, why are there so many rare Pokemon gathered in our pen?" "Ah. So they noticed my Pokemon." Naruto thought as he descended the rest of the steps, "They're mine." Everyone turned to look at him, his brother scoffing and his sister looking like she didn't believe him. His parents were wide-eyed as they saw him. "And Naruto?" His mother said. "Naruto just headed for the door. I caught them yesterday, though I've known them for years." Minato regained his senses. "Why didn't you tell any of us? We're your family, right?"
Naruto nearly crushed the doorknob he'd been holding, something that they all noticed. Naruto turned back and said, "Why should I tell you anything? You've made it perfectly clear that you don't care about me."
His parents were about to reprimand him when his words really hit them. They had been neglecting him nearly his whole life. Kushina nearly burst into tears. "Oh God. Naruto, save it." Naruto said, glaring at her, "I've gone 10 years without you. I don't need you now." With that, Naruto headed off on his journey, leaving one distraught mother, one ashamed father, one annoyed brother, and one concerned sister. Naruto was about to leave when he noticed something. It was a girl about his age. She was looking around like she was lost. Naruto was by no means a pervert. That title belonged to his godfather, but even he couldn't help but notice that this girl was stunning. Not to mention that her chest was huge for someone their age. Nope. Not a pervert, just observant. She was about 5 feet 4 inches with brown hair and blue eyes, wearing a red tank top, which would have shown off a lot of cleavage if it weren't for the black undershirt, white short shorts over black biker shorts, yellow and black sneakers, a yellow fanny pack, lastly, a red bow on her head, letting 2 bangs fall to either side of her head while the rest was left flowing down to her shoulders. Omega Ruby clothes but anime face and body design. Naruto walked over and decided to help her out. May Maple was having a bad day. It started off easy enough, but then when she went to Littleroot Town to get her first Pokemon, a ghost attacked her. Then her bike got destroyed, and now she couldn't find her way to Professor Birch's lab. She was about ready to give up when she heard a voice. "Excuse me, you look lost." She spun around to see what was quite possibly the hottest guy she had ever seen in her entire life. That included the models in fashion magazines. She blushed bright red as she remembered his statement. She shyly scratched her head. "Why yeah. I just came from Petalburg City so I don't know my way around. I'm trying to find Professor Birch's lab." Naruto smiled at her, making her face heat up again, and said, "I'll show you the way, follow me." As the two walked through town, May noticed people laughing and commenting on them. She thought they were making fun of her, until her companion said, "Don't worry, they're talking about me." She gave him a confused look and he said, "I was born an albino, so everyone always makes fun of me. Because of that, I don't really have many friends." May nodded and said, "It's lonely, isn't it, not having any friends?" At his look, she said, "My daddy's the gym leader in Petalburg, so everyone was either afraid of me or just using me. I never had any real friends either." Naruto stopped and turned to her. She stopped as well. "Well then, if I'm not being too forward, how would you like to be friends?" She smiled and said, "I would love it." This day was turning out better than May would have ever thought. Naruto held out his hand. "Naruto Shirogane." He said using his other name. He made it up so people wouldn't associate him with his family. She took his hand and shook, May Maple. With that, they headed off to the lab. When the two arrived, Naruto walked in to see the professor with 3 Pokeballs waiting for someone. When he noticed them, he walked over and said, "You must be May. Norman told me you'd be coming. I hope you found the place all right." May chuckled and said, "Well, I wouldn't have if it wasn't for Naruto." "Ah. Well, thank you Naruto for helping her." After Naruto's nod, he led them over to the Pokeballs and said, "Well May, you have these 3 to choose from." He then let the Pokemon out revealing a Mudkip, a Trico, and a Torchic. May took a look at them, and after not liking the Trico's attitude, and having the Mudkip shoot her with water, she chose the Torchic.
Ah, he's a cutie, she said while petting the small chick.
Professor Birch then took an opportunity to speak up. "Say May, do you want to give Torchic a nickname?" Naruto gave all his Pokemon one. She looked thoughtful for a minute before saying, "Flicker. Do you like that? The little fire." "Torchic. Tor." The little Pokemon squeaked. "I guess that's a yes," May said. Birch spoke again. "May, you don't know a lot about Pokemon, do you?" She stopped and turned around. "Is it that obvious?" "Not really, your dad told me. But back to what I was saying. Why don't you two travel together?" "Us?" Naruto said, speaking up for the first time since they arrived. Birch nodded. "Why not? You two get along great, and you can teach May how to be a great trainer." Naruto nodded and said, "Well May, I'll leave it up to you." She took less than a second to say, "Sounds great." So May got her pink Pokédex and 5 Pokeballs and the 2 companions left the lab to see Naruto's siblings talking to a boy with a Pikachu. They ignored them and headed on out of town toward Petalburg City. While they were walking, they started to hear some ghostly wailing from the woods on either side. May hid behind Naruto and started shaking. Naruto merely chuckled and said, "Duskull, come on out." As he said that, a small skull Pokemon appeared and floated around them. It went over to May, who kept trying to put Naruto between herself and the ghost Pokemon. Naruto just placed her in front of himself and said, "Calm down May. Duskull just likes to play, he seems to really like you." "Duskull," the little Pokemon said. May didn't share the sentiment, lucky me. As the two continued on, they noticed that Duskull kept following them, and he kept trying to set himself on May's head. After a few minutes Naruto said, "Why don't you catch him?" "Huh." May said. "Duskull obviously wants to go with you." May fidgeted a bit and said, I'm kinda afraid of ghosts." She expected Naruto to laugh at her, but instead he said, "I was too. But one of my Pokemon is a ghost type, so I learned not to be afraid of them. Plus Duskull doesn't mean to be scary. He tries to make people laugh so that they won't be afraid of him. To tell you the truth, you're the first person he wanted to travel with." May thought about this and took another look at the little Pokemon. Now that she wasn't scared, she saw that he had a small glimmer of hope in his eye, along with some longing. "Ah. He just wants a friend, and I was running around screaming." She smiled at the Duskull and said, "Well, now that I look at him, he is kinda cute." Duskull floated around cheering while May pulled out a Pokeball and caught him. "I think I'll call him Soul." As they continued to Petalburg, May decided to start a conversation. "So, you have more than one Pokemon?" Naruto nodded. "Yep, I have 6 already." "Wow. How long have you been a trainer?" "Just since 3 days ago. I've been friends with these guys for years though." "Oh. Maybe when we get to my place we could let them out to play with mine and my dad's." "That sounds nice. So the professor said you could teach me how to be a better trainer." "Yeah. Let's wait until we get there before we start." May nodded and the two continued walking in a comfortable silence. Petalburg City. They soon arrived in Petalburg City. As the sun was beginning to set, Naruto couldn't help but look around at all the huge buildings. It was definitely much bigger than Littleroot. When they got to the gym, they walked in to see May's father training a Slacketh. He turned to them and said, "May, I didn't expect you home so soon." He then focused his gaze on Naruto. "And who's this?" May hugged her father and said, "This is Naruto Shirogane. We met in Littleroot and started traveling together." "Really?" Norman said while narrowing his eyes. Suddenly, a woman who Naruto guessed was May's mother, and a small boy walked into the room. The woman said, "Well, it's nice to meet you Naruto. I'm Caroline and this is Max. Come on in, dinner is about ready. Since you're a friend of May's you're more than welcome to stay the night here." Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Oh, I don't want to impose." Caroline just smiled. "I insist. I can't let Mei's first real friend sleep in a hotel. Naruto nodded and watched as Mei walked out with her mother. It was then that Mei's father appeared in front of him, looking Naruto straight in the eye while a slacking appeared behind him. Listen here, Naruto. Mei is my precious baby girl, and if you hurt her, you'll have me to deal with. Understood? Naruto nodded. He had seen Minato get like this when guys came over to ask Nozomi out. Norman then said, "Excellent, now let's eat." He walked down the hall while Naruto and Max followed. Max then said, "You got off light. I remember when this one guy went too far with hitting on Mei and Dad nearly beat him to death." Really? He also let his Pokemon out to play with Norman's and Mei's along the way. Naruto then got sat down while Caroline served the food. It was really good, chicken parmesan with clam chowder. As they started talking, Mei decided to ask Naruto about her lessons. "So Naruto, when do you want to start teaching me?" Everyone stopped and raised an eyebrow at this. Naruto didn't notice and said, "We can start after dinner if you'd like." Caroline said, "Oh, if you're teaching her something then we don't mind if you want to do it here." Naruto said, "Okay then. Well, Mei, first lesson, Pokemon types." Everyone realized that it was Pokemon training lessons and listened in. There are 18 Pokemon types. Any decent trainer knows these types and their matchups by heart. Noticing her worried expression, he said, "Don't worry, it's easier than it sounds. I have a trainer guide I can give you later." Mei nodded as Naruto continued. Secondly, moves also have types, but what moves they can learn depend on the Pokemon, not the Pokemon's type. For example, Tyranitar and Ogren, both weak to water, can learn Surf. Mei nodded, so Pokemon can learn moves outside of their type? Naruto nodded. Exactly. For example, my Mudkip, Cool, Nose Tackle, Water Gun, Mud Slap, Bide, and Ice Ball. Mei considered this before motioning for him to continue, which he did. Third is that Pokemon, just like humans, have their own personalities and quirks. They are all different and unique. The rest of the basics can only be learned in battle. We can do a quick practice round if you want. Mei nodded, and after dinner, they went out and got their Pokemon. They then took positions on opposite sides of the dirt field outside and selected a Pokemon. "Go Flicker," Mei said as the Torchic emerged from the ball. "Eros, you're up," Naruto said calmly as his Charmander made an appearance. Max was overjoyed. "Whoa, a Charmander." Naruto spoke up before they started. "Your Pokédex can tell you what moves your Pokemon knows." Mei nodded and pointed the device at Flicker. Its computerized woman's voice carried through the area. The moves Torchic is able to use are Ember, Peck, Scratch, and Swift. Naruto nodded and said, "That's a pretty impressive moveset for a starter. Now, let's get started." Mei nodded and said, "Flicker, use Ember." Naruto watched as Eros swatted them away with his tail. A fire-type move won't do much to another fire-type. She flinched and said, "Let's try Swift." Torchic nodded and shot the stream of stars at Eros. "Eros, jump to the left and grab that rock." The lizard did just that, and used the large rock as a shield. "Impressive," Norman said as he watched. Swift can't be dodged, so he blocked it with a rock instead. Naruto then smirked a bit. Now to practice defense, Eros used Dig. Eros jumped underground and stayed there. Combat Lesson 1. Mei heard Naruto say, "Pokemon battling is rarely ever straightforward. It goes up and down, backwards and forward, diagonally, side to side and everywhere else you can think of." Metal Claw. Eros jumped out of the ground and attached with lengthened, metal claws. "Chick!" Flick cried as it was sent down to the ground. After Flick got up, Naruto said, "Lesson 2. You need to be aware of the battlefield, every aspect of it. For example, Eros, Ember above Flick." Eros knew what to do and fired a blast of Ember at the tree above Flick. Before Mei and Flick realized what he was doing, a tree branch fell right on Flick's head. Naruto watched as Flick tried to stand up. "He's got heart. I think that's enough for this round. Next?" Mei nodded and retrieved Flick, taking him over to Max. She then pulled out her other Pokeball and said, "Let's go Soul." Duskull came out and flew around the field. Caroline gained a confused look on her face. I thought Mei was afraid of ghosts. Eros walked over to Naruto. "Charmander. Hey now, they just started. Cut them a little slack." Mei's eye twitched as she realized that the lizard was probably mocking her. Naruto returned Eros and picked another ball. "Your turn, Frey." A Bagon appeared out of the ball and roared its name. Everyone was surprised to see another rare Pokemon. Mei took out her Pokédex to get a read on Soul's moves. The moves Duskull is able to use are Will-O-Wisp, Hex, Dark Pulse, and Confuse Ray. Naruto was pleasantly surprised. Who knew that Duskull had such an impressive array of moves? Dark Pulse. Mei said as Soul launched the attack. Dodge. Naruto said, still completely cool. Frey, Dragon Rage. Frey spat out a ball of blue and yellow fire at Soul. Mei remembered she was supposed to help him and said, dodge to the right. Duskull did just that, only to see Frey right in front of him. Lesson number 3. Try not to call out a direction if you can, your enemies will use that. Bite. Frey grabbed Soul in his jaws and threw him around a bit before letting him go. Soul floated around a bit before twitching a bit. Naruto noticed this and called the match. Mei put Soul back in his Pokeball and sighed as Naruto came forward. Lesson 4, and the most important lesson. She looked up at him at this. Pokemon have limits, and it's pushing past those limits that makes them stronger, but at the same time, you need to recognize when they've done enough. If they go too far, they can get seriously hurt, just the same as humans. Mei nodded. Bus still seemed a bit down. Hey, don't make that face. Naruto gave her a small smile. I've been training with these guys for years, while you just started today. Don't beat yourself up. She smiled and nodded. A few minutes later, Naruto had finished brushing his teeth and was changing into his pajamas when the door opened. He turned to see Mei in a towel. Meanwhile Mei, forgetting that Naruto was in the bathroom, walked in on him in his boxers. The two stared for a few seconds before they blushed and dissolved into both trying to apologize and explain at the same time, until they both calmed down and Mei said, I'm sorry, I didn't remember you were in here. Naruto nodded, quickly put his pajama pants and tank top on and said, well, I'll just head to my room then. Naruto tried to squeeze past Mei and their chests accidentally touched as he walked past. They both blushed harder as Naruto walked to the guest room. When he arrived, he sat down on the futon and tried to go to sleep. Mei's room. Mei lay down on her bed trying to sleep. She had changed into a pink thigh-length nightie, and she couldn't sleep. She couldn't help but be worried about the rest of her journey. Her door slipped open and her mother appeared in the doorway. Can't sleep? She asked. Mei sighed, shook her head, and sat up. Her mother sat beside her and asked, want to talk about it? Mei was silent for a few minutes before speaking. I'm just worried about my journey. Naruto is so much better than me. What if I screw up? What if I make a mistake? What if I disappoint you and Daddy? Caroline smiled at her daughter and said, sweetie, we will never be disappointed by you. We will always love you, no matter what. If you make a mistake or screw up then so what? That's life. Mei nodded and smiled, before she heard her mother's next sentence. Now, let's talk about the stud you brought home. Mei's face went atomic red as she yelled, Mom. The next day, Naruto and Mei had just gotten their things together and retrieved their Pokemon. Mei's family was there to see the off. Naruto would have challenged Norman, but after seeing that slacking, he figured that he'd better get a bit stronger. Before they left, Max had said that he wanted to go with them so he could learn more about Pokemon. Naruto had known that they would probably be going into some dangerous situations, so he compromised and told Max that he would see about getting Birch to accept him as an assistant. So Naruto did, and Birch was more than happy to train an aspiring professor, plus Brandy was happy that there would be someone her age there. Anyway, the two were walking down toward Petalburg Forest. Mei had her nose buried in the trainer's guide. Hey Naruto, I think I found what I want to do, she said. Naruto turned to her. Really? What's that? Mei smiled. To tell you the truth, I didn't think that I was cut out for being a trainer, but I think that being a coordinator is right up my alley. Naruto nodded and thought about it. Mei would make an excellent coordinator. If that's what you want to do, then go for it. She nodded, then asked him about a Pokemon on the coordinator page. Oh, that's a Beautifly. Do you want one? She nodded. So Naruto continued, well, I don't know where you can get wild Beautifly, but I do know where to get Wurmple, which can evolve into a Beautifly. Right up here in Petalburg Forest. I can help you catch one if you want. She cheered as they stopped at the entrance to the forest. When they went in, Naruto was careful to keep an eye out for anything wrong. Now Wurmple like to eat leaves on the forest floor, or they like to stick onto trees. But you need to be careful, they live in groups, so they might attack if one is threatened. Mei nodded, then caught sight of something in the bush. She strayed and walked over to it. Naruto noticed and followed her. When they found themselves at the bush, May pulled apart the branches and saw a sleeping pink Wurmple. Damn, Naruto said as he saw the shiny Pokemon. I thought Wurmple were red, May said confused. Naruto shook the amazement from his eyes and said, it's a shiny Pokemon. They're incredibly rare, like 1 in a million. Wow, May said as the Wurmple started to wake up. Naruto silently prayed that it wasn't like the other shiny he'd met. When the Wurmple saw them, it got terrified and tried to run away, but its legs were damaged, something that they both had just noticed. So May picked the little bug Pokemon up, ignoring the squirming, and waited until Naruto came back with some super potion. When the Wurmple felt the stuff on its legs, it cried out in pain before it started to subside. Naruto took out a pillow from his bag and placed the Wurmple on it. While it sat there, May noticed the terrified look in its eye. Why is it so scared? Naruto shook his head. I was afraid of this. Most Pokemon have a natural camouflage for the area that they live in, but shiny Pokemon are often kicked out of the group to ensure the other's survival, since they stand out too much. This little guy has probably been alone his whole life. The other Wurmple must have injured his legs to make him easier prey. May reached out to pet the small bug, who flinched, until she saw that May wasn't going to hurt her. Poor thing. Say, how do you know so much about how shiny Pokemon are treated? Naruto sighed and brought out a Pokeball. He released the Pokemon inside, revealing Eros, his Charmander. When the little lizard saw the Wurmple, its eyes went wide as it looked like it had been struck. Eros looked to Naruto, who nodded. Then Naruto took out a rag from his back and got it wet in a stream nearby. Naruto then wiped the rag on Eros' skin, revealing that Eros was covered in orange body paint. When it was all off, Eros was revealed to be yellow, instead of orange. May understood almost instantly. I see. So Eros was. Naruto nodded. Yeah. The other Pokemon left him on Cinnabar Island to fend for himself, where I found him. He was ashamed of his color, so he made me cover him in paint to look normal. Wurmple, after hearing all this, decided that these humans weren't all bad. After all, they accepted her, so they must be nice. With that, Wurmple was covered by a white light. Everyone watched as Wurmple changed into a yellow cocoon, with one eye peeking out. She evolved already. May yelled. Naruto nodded. Bug Pokemon evolve very fast. Some have been known to go from their first forms to their final forms in a single day. The new Silcoon tried to snuggle up to May. After May asked Silcoon if she wanted to travel with them, the cocoon Pokemon nodded and May caught it, her third Pokemon. She had decided to name her new Pokemon, Luna. Eros watched the exchange before looking down at its scales. He clenched his hands and went back into his ball. Naruto sighed at Eros' stubborn nature. The two humans and one cocoon walked through the forest, May helping Luna work through her issues the whole way, though near the end, the two turned a corner and saw a man in a lab coat standing in the path looking around. He saw them and asked, "Excuse me, I don't mean to bother you, but, have you seen any shroomish around here?" Naruto shook his head and then rushed forward to pull the man back to them. It was then that a fist sailed over the area the man's head previously occupied. Naruto saw two men dressed in wannabe pirate costumes with an A symbol on their outfits. One of them snarled and said, "Nice moves, kid, but we need you to hand him over now." Naruto narrowed his eyes and instead pulled out a Pokeball, while May did the same. It was then that they noticed Luna and gained a twinkle in their eye. Say, why don't we take that Silcoon too? The other nodded and leered at it, before his vision was drawn to May. How about we keep the girl holding it too, she looks good. Both Naruto and May were livid at this, so Naruto tossed out Eros, still yellow, while Luna wanted to fight, so May sent her out. The two thugs tossed out a pair of Puccina, so the battle began. Eros used Metal Claw. Naruto said, and Eros grew long metal claws before charging one of the two dog Pokemon, taking it by surprise with its speed, and Eros knocked the Pokemon back. Thug number 2 said, "Puccina use Bite," he said while pointing to Luna. Harden, Luna. When the dog bit Luna, it got at least one broken tooth, and May continued with a small new combo, Tackle. So Luna shot towards the Puccina, Harden. The end result. Instead of getting hit by a softish cocoon, it instead got hit by what felt like a brick wall, knocking it out cold. Naruto, still as calm as ever, said, "Shadow Claw." Eros shot forward toward the remaining Puccina, and slammed the claw of shadow into its face, knocking it out as well. The two thugs returned their Pokemon and were about to try more direct approach, but they were stopped. Not by the Pokemon, but by Naruto's eyes. They didn't know what it was, but those eyes spelled death, so they returned their Pokemon and hightailed it out of there. It was then that Luna started to glow again. She grew wings, became smaller, and turned into a stunning Beautifly. The researcher said, "Thank you two so much. How can I repay you?" He started to search his pockets for something, but stopped as he heard a whispering, a gentle nudging in his mind. It guided him, without his knowledge, to give Naruto a certain item. "Here, I'm afraid that this is all I have right now," he said as he gave them a rather large stone. It was black, like obsidian, and had two ridges on the sides, jutting out about an inch from the stone. Naruto didn't know what it was, but that stone. Something about it was. "Naruto? Are you okay?" Naruto snapped out of his staring and said, "Yeah? Are you okay? You were staring at that rock for a bit." Naruto gave a shy smile and said, "I'm fine. It's nothing." A little ways away, sitting in a tree, was a figure covered in a tan cloak. The only thing that could be seen was a few strands of black hair and glowing red eyes. "Well, he seems like one to watch. But that rock, it seems familiar. Ah well. I'm sure it'll come to me." Back with Naruto and Mei. The two had made camp and were eating dinner with their Pokemon, though two were off to the side engaged in conversation. "Why are you so negative about being a shiny?" Luna asked Eros. "Why? It's because of this that my family abandoned me. Why should I be proud of it?" "Because it's you," Luna said, stopping Eros in his tracks. "I don't hate my color. I love it. It makes me unique. Plus, we still found acceptance with people who care about us despite our color in the end, right?" Eros was stunned at her words, so simple, but so right. "Besides, if they can't accept you for who you are, then screw them. They don't deserve you." Eros looked down at his hands and found his resolve. She was right. At that moment, a mental block in Eros' head broke. He had pushed past his problem. It was then that he too started to glow in a white light. Naruto, noticing them and deducing what they were talking about, smiled as Mei and everyone else watched. When the light died down, now there was a yellow Charmeleon in the clearing, giving off an aura of confidence like never before. Naruto smiled at his oldest friend and nodded to him when they made eye contact. After dinner, they all decided to hit the sack, so Naruto and Mei got into their sleeping bags while their Pokemon got comfortable. As Naruto drifted off to sleep, he thought it felt deeper than before. Unknown area. Naruto shot up and looked around. He definitely wasn't in the forest anymore. He was in an enormous traditional temple. Looking around, he saw tapestries depicting legends he hadn't even heard of. As he looked around, he heard a voice behind him, a deep and powerful voice. "So, are you going to turn around, human?" Naruto slowly turned to find an enormous fox with 9 tails sitting in front of him. It had red-orange fur with black markings around its eyes, and human-like front paws. "Who? No. What are you?" It chuckled. "I'm not surprised you don't know me. I'm not as well known as the other overseers, or legendaries as you humans call them." "You're a legendary." It got a bit irritated. "Yes, I am. Name's Kurama. Now as to why I'm here. I've been in self-imposed exile for a few hundred years." "Why?" Kurama gave him a deadpan look. "Do you see how big I am? I can't exactly hide like the others." Naruto nodded and continued to look around. "Fair enough. Where are we?" "Your mind, and before you ask, I've been here your whole life." "Why?" "I got tired of being alone, so I decided to help you out with your destiny issue." "What destiny issue?" "Never mind that, not important right now. Just know that you're very important, Kit, and that I am here to help you. Used to be when I did this, I'd just be a voice in the head, but people kept ignoring me or thinking that they were crazy. Not fun. Anyway, just go back to sleep. You have an even greater duty to attend to." Naruto gained a scared expression and asked, "What?" Kurama gained a serious face and said, "Tapping that sweet brunette you're traveling with." Naruto face faulted. "What? Hot bodies like that don't come along every 1,000 years, ya know. Tap it before something goes wrong." Naruto's eye twitched. "I'm leaving now." Kurama couldn't resist one last shot. "I'll corrupt you yet, Kit." As Naruto and Mei walked across the bridge to Rustboro City, Naruto couldn't get his thoughts off the encounter with Kurama. What did he mean about my destiny? His status as a legendary is also confusing. I've never even heard of him. He chose to ignore said Fox's muttering within his mind about disrespectful brats. Naruto? His companion asked, are you alright? Naruto smiled and said, yeah, I was just lost in thought. As the two entered the city, Naruto gave Mei another lesson. Now, when you enter a new city, the first thing to do is look for the Pokemon Center. Even if your Pokemon aren't hurt, it's still a good idea to get them checked out. Mei nodded as the two headed to the brick building with the telltale Pokeball symbol on the front. Hello there. What can I do for the two of you? Nurse Joy asked. Naruto snapped his fingers as he remembered something. Before I forget, all Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny look nearly identical. Though they all have small differences, this Joy is just a centimeter taller than the one in Oldale Town. Joy giggled a bit and said, that's impressive, people rarely ever notice that. Mei nodded in understanding as the two handed their Pokeballs over. We just need a checkup, Naruto said. The nurse nodded and gave the tray of Pokeballs to the Chansey nearby, who took them back to an examination room. Naruto and Mei waited for about a half an hour before Chansey came back and gave a clipboard to Nurse Joy. Her eyes widened a bit as she called them over. Excuse me, may I speak to you two for a minute? They walked up as Nurse Joy explained the situation. Mei, it appears that your Duskull is infected with Pokerus, and he's passed it on to all the others. Mei got worried. What is that? Some kind of disease? Is it dangerous? Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder and gave her a reassuring smile. Don't worry, Mei. Pokerus is actually a good thing. At her confused look, he explained, while it is a disease, Pokerus has positive effects on Pokemon. Really? Like what? She asked. Naruto thought for a minute. How to explain it? You read about Pokemon stats in the guidebook, right? She nodded. Well, Pokerus accelerates the growth hormones that raise stats, causing stats to grow much more per level than normal. Mei nodded again as he continued. Pokerus is also highly contagious, usually spread by physical contact, which is why both our teams have it. However, it'll go away in a few weeks, which is why we need to take advantage of it while we have the chance. So it just makes them stronger. Mei surmised. Nurse Joy interjected, actually, it also has one other effect. Some Pokemon have a special, hidden, ability which only one in every 1,000 of that species possess. Pokemon infected with Pokerus sometimes activate their hidden ability in exchange for their old ability. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Sorry, Nurse Joy, I should have let you explain it. She shook her head with a smile. Oh no, it's fine. It's actually refreshing to see a trainer who actually studied up on Pokemon biology and health. With that, the two sat back down, Naruto thinking up a training program to take advantage of the Pokerus growth abilities in the little time they had, while Mei booked them a room at the center. After they got their Pokemon back, Naruto went off to find the gym, Mei going along. When they found it, they went inside and saw a man at the front desk. He looked up to see them and said, Are you two here for a battle? Naruto stepped up. I am. She's a spectator. The man nodded and spoke into an intercom. Roxanne, a challenger is here. Then a voice sounding about their age responded, Excellent. I was getting seriously bored, send them in. He looked back to them and said, She usually teaches at the trainer's school, so you're lucky to catch her. Head back through those doors. Naruto walked in to find himself at one end of a large, rock-themed field. Mei took a seat on the stands as the other door opened. In walked a black-haired, red-eyed girl in a school uniform. She looked at them and turned to Naruto. I'm Roxanne, so I assume you're my challenger? Naruto nodded with a smile. She pulled out a Pokeball and said, Well, it's not every day I get such an attractive one. Naruto blushed a bit as he pulled out his own Pokeball. She chuckled a bit as the referee said, This will be a 2-on-2 battle. It will end when both of one trainer's Pokemon are unable to battle. Geodude, get to it, Roxanne said as she sent out her first Pokemon. When he saw his opponent, Naruto tossed his own Pokemon, Naruto Shirogane. Cool, you're up first. Mudkip. The small Pokemon said with a smile, before it shot a blast of water at Mei. A water type A. Hope you didn't think that would rattle me. Geodude, tackle. The small rock Pokemon shot forward and tore up the ground in its path. Dodge. Naruto said calmly as Cool jumped over the attack. Keep tackling. Roxanne ordered. Naruto watched as they continued. Cool was dodging every hit, so why? Turn with the momentum and use rollout. Geodude did exactly that. Using the force of the tackle attack, it turned and rolled toward Cool, who was still in the air. Naruto narrowed his eyes and thought up a plan to weather the attack. Cool, ice ball. Cool nodded as it started flipping and encasing itself in a ball of hardened ice. The two collided and kept colliding over and over again. Roxanne analyzed the stalemate. Ice ball and rollout both get more powerful with each hit. He's damaging Geodude just as much as he's being damaged. Water gun. Roxanne's eyes went wide as a powerful blast of water shot through the ice and slammed Geodude up against a rock. She thought up a plan to at least injure Cool. Use dig. Geodude dug underground and almost immediately shot up and grabbed onto Cool. Self-destruct. Naruto flinched as the explosion rocked the field. When it cleared, it showed a knocked-out Geodude and a barely standing Cool. What? He thought, Cool's no slouch, just like the others, but even he shouldn't have been able to stay conscious after that, especially at point-blank range. Unless. Naruto quickly took out his Pokédex and pointed it at Cool. His eyes went wide as he saw the cause. He smiled, put his dex away, and said, "Come on back, Cool, you've done enough." Cool looked back, flinched at the pain, and nodded as Naruto returned him to his ball. Roxanne did the same to Geodude and said, "Well, this is the last round. Don't hold back now, isn't that right, Nosepass?" she said as she sent out her strongest Pokemon. Naruto took out another ball and said, "Let's go, Sage." The small grass type jumped around excitedly for a bit before settling on a serious face. Sage, pin missile. Sage's fingers and quills glowed whitish green and shot out at Nosepass. Harden. Nosepass went stone still as the missiles bounced off of him. Vine whip. Vines shot out of Sage's arms and sped toward Nosepass. They were much faster than most Pokemons, so Roxanne didn't think of a plan until Nosepass had been hit a few times. Grab then and use Thunder Wave. Naruto, knowing what she was trying to do, told Sage to withdraw his vines. Sadly, a small bit of electricity got onto the vine and shocked Sage, rendering him paralyzed. Sage twitched as he tried to move, but each time he did, his muscles froze up. Roxanne smirked and said, "To ensure that this works, lock on." Nosepass' eyes glowed red as a red bullseye appeared on Sage's head. Zap Cannon. A compacted ball of electrical energy appeared on Nosepass' hands. He shot it and it screamed right at the bull's eye on Sage's head. Sage was sent rolling along the ground, beaten up, but still conscious. Naruto watched, worried, as Sage struggled to get back up. Roxanne, impressed with Sage's endurance, said, "Impressive. But this is the last shot." Zap Cannon again, full power. An even larger ball of energy gathered in Nosepass' hands as Sage finally got to his feet. May, watching from the stands, thought, "Damn, these gym battles can get intense. But I know Naruto and Sage can pull through." Nosepass fired the ball of energy as Sage waited. Naruto was seriously worried. Until the attack hit. All three people and one Pokemon in the arena were stunned as Sage held the ball in his hands, struggling as it pushed him back. Naruto's eyes went wide as he realized what happened. Roxanne was seriously confused. She had no idea what was happening. Wait. Doesn't the Chespin line have? Oh no. Sage spun around and threw the ball back at Nosepass, screaming, "I am bulletproof." The ball of electricity flew back at Nosepass and slammed full force into it. After an explosion of power, Nosepass was revealed to be knocked out. The referee held up a flag and said, "Both of Roxanne's Pokemon are unable to battle. The winner is Naruto Shirogane." May cheered as Naruto returned Sage. Roxanne sighed as she returned her Pokemon. "Well, that was a fun battle. Naruto, I hereby award you with the Stone Badge." Naruto took the badge and placed it into his badge case. "Thank you. Now, I think we need to head back to the Pokemon Center." Roxanne nodded and said, "I'll join you." So the three left the gym and headed to the center. On the way, May said something that had been on her mind. "I still don't get it. How did Sage survive that last Zap Cannon?" Naruto nodded. "Well, the Chespin line had a special hidden ability called Bulletproof, which makes them immune to certain projectile moves." May placed a hand on her chin. "Wait, hidden ability? Then did the Pokerus bring it out?" Naruto nodded again. "Yep. Cool's damp ability as well. It activated during the self-destruct attack." Damp? Roxanne went into teaching mode at this. Damp negates moves like explosion and self-destruct. Don't worry, not every one of Naruto and May's Pokemon will activate their hidden abilities. Just a few. When they arrived, Naruto and Roxanne gave their Pokemon to the nurse and sat down. Roxanne then said, "Say, how would you like to help me out at the trainer's school tomorrow?" Naruto, surprised by the offer, said, "I wouldn't mind. How about you, May?" Nay thought and said, "Well, it couldn't hurt. I could also pick up some tricks for being a coordinator." Roxanne nodded, "We have a coordinator class if you want to attend." Naruto and May nodded and they went over what they would be doing the next day.
Roxanne wanted Naruto to teach a battle strategy class and do a few practice battles with the kids, maybe knock the more cocky ones down a few pegs. May just wanted to learn, and since she was still new to being a trainer, she was going to stick to being part of the class.
Apparently, there were all ages of kids in the school, all the way up to their age. So Naruto would teach the younger ones some tips, then come over to the older class and battle the cockier ones. Roxanne explained that she would have done it herself, but they wouldn't have changed, her being a gym leader and all, she was supposed to be stronger than normal trainers. Anyway, Roxanne got her Pokemon and went back to the gym in case any more challengers came back, while Naruto and May headed off to their rented room, but not before letting their Pokemon out into the pen out back. When they arrived, May looked around to see a bunk bed, a nightstand, and a desk complete with a computer. Naruto walked over to the bed, tossed his stuff to the side, and said, "I'll take the bottom." With that, he walked over to the bathroom and changed into his pajamas. After he was done, he lay down and went to sleep as May came out. As she climbed into the top bunk, Naruto couldn't help but open one eye and catch an eyeful of her black panties.